Jason, let's first talk on, what type of teams where are you hearing from the league? Who's interested, and kind of what are you doing as you're waiting around?
Well, I'm not very good at waiting around. Actually, it's not a skill that I've ever been very good at. So we've been pretty active. There's been a pretty constant dialogue with two teams that both opportunities I'd be very excited about. I think we're getting close to the time where it's something that is an urgent matter for them. It hasn't been to this point, so I would anticipate something pan out shortly. But I don't. I'm not in control of the timetable. The only thing I can really do is continue to prepare for a season like I have every other of the 11 years I played, and just trust it'll take care of itself. There is a process that just has to run its course, and so there's a human part of it where you're like, man, I'd like to know what's going on, but if you hire an agent for a reason, and there's like I said, there's a process that has to take place, and you just got to let it run its course, and it'll work out. Both of them I'd be very excited about, and there's a significant mutual interest there. So, like I said, we're just being patient with it, and this has been nice because I've had something to consume a lot of my time. I know sometimes if you don't have a lot going on, that can be kind of a taxing thing. But my wife keeps me plenty busy, and this is something that I spend a lot of time on. So
I know there's rules with the league, but I have to ask at least. Can you tell us what those two teams are?
you know what? There aren't rules about that, but it's really more of a respect for the guys that are currently on the roster. But it, so yeah, I mean, you guys will certainly know, but it's more of an issue of I've been on teams where I've been the guy and they brought guys in to compete against me, that kind of thing, and so just out of respect for my peers, I would rather let this process run its course.
Not a problem. As we're kind of talking. Thing about the last season Cam Newton had, kind of just his style of play. I mean, even Tim Tebow to a little bit too. Do you feel like the rules are kind of changing the game of the quarterbacks, and kind of what do you kind of see kind of going forward?
Well, the one thing about Cam is I haven't been around a guy like him. He has some tools that most guys don't have. He can run. I mean, he can throw the ball as well as any quarterback I've been around. Most people don't know that he's 260 pounds. A lot of defenders found that out when they tried to tackle him. But he's a guy that can run fast, he can move laterally, he can shake you. And the thing that I think I appreciated the most about him is he really does have a competitive maturity that doesn't normally exist in rookies. He came in not intimidated by the league. He came in with the expectation to win every game he played. He came in with the expectation that every time he had the ball, they were going to get points. And that's something that as one of his teammates you appreciate. He didn't really tiptoe his way in, and I would expect Cam to be a guy that does have some impact on change, or is a catalyst to the way that we change in the way that we view offense in the NFL. I'm sure our offensive coordinator was pretty excited when you sit there and think about the fact that you can do just about anything you want to do each week. So I certainly enjoyed watching it, and I think I had the fewest punts that I've ever had in a season last year. So.
Oh, nice. And I'm sure too, Robert Griffin III is kind of a style too, or we might see more of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's become attractive because it's worked. I think the Michael Vicks, and you go all the way back to like Randall Cunningham and these guys. Steve Young was that way. I think the one difference that, like I said, people don't really understand is Cam is a large man. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. Some of the other guys, even Vic and RG3, those guys aren't 260 pounds. So Cam might be able to endure the wear and tear a little better, but we'll see. I would expect some pretty good things, and I have a lot of good friends there in Charlotte, and I think they're probably in pretty good hands for a while. So
cool. Yeah, let's talk about the concussion policy. Kind of what's your take on it? Because I know a lot of those plays, going full speed, head to head.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff happens on special teams, which is obviously the time I'm on the field. It's one of those things that I don't know if it's like smoking was 30 years ago, where people started to identify the problems, and I think now that we have a sample set of research that can go back to sort of the beginning of football, and we can see over what happens to a guy who plays 10 years in the NFL and then grows to be 65, 70 years old. You see the effects of it. Now we have that, that exists now, so I think we're starting to see the effects of it. But it's certainly a significant issue. We spent a lot of time last night in our coaches' clinic trying to educate coaches on the impact of head trauma and how to properly deal with it. I'm of the position that it's the game, the environment we practice in and we play in has to be altered a little, but it's one of those things. I think the most important piece is that you have a a proper process to manage and mitigate the injury. And so I think if that's done, we can keep it safe. But I think we owe it to our kids to do it. We wouldn't ask our kids to go play in traffic because obviously that's not safe. We have to do the proper things. So we're trying to address some of that here.
And I guess lastly, right now in the league, it's kind of everything's surrounded around the Saints. Kind of, what's your take on this? Have you ever seen this before? Have you at least heard about it or heard about it from former teammates or people that joined your team that were on a different team in the past?
I haven't, that to my knowledge, I've never been in a situation where that's been that's existed. I don't know if I would use the word surprised, but I don't think there's a place for it. I think, as heavy-handed as some of the penalties were, I look at the product of that type of thing existing in the league and the damage that could cause. I think is a lot more severe than the penalties that were handed out. So it's a little out of my lane, I guess, to have an opinion on it, but I think there's no place for it, and I think it needs to be managed and mitigated and gone. And so hopefully this process will do some of that.